countries today are not only always the highest ranks of the United Nations Human Development Reports, but in the World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Reports. Now you need to know this. See, the Real Wealth of Nations is really a toolkit for you to really use this information to change the thinking about economics, and now is the moment, my friends. If we don't use this window of opportunity, we're just going to get them to tinker with the old system, which is what they're doing to such a large extent. So look, look at the Nordic nations. They have universal, high-quality childcare. They have stipends. This is non-market now. Government-supported stipends for families to raise children. They have government-backed and paid parental leave for both mothers and fathers. In fact, both have to take it in a two-parent family, if either is to get it. So more guys get to do the caring work, which they so enjoy. I've got 10 minutes. Oh, that's fabulous. Hey, I thought I had less. All right. Well, in that case... well, I tell you, I forgot about the Q&A. Well, I have to finish this because you have to understand that what happened in the Nordic nations did not happen in a vacuum. The fact that they have lower crime rates and less prison costs, that they have low health care costs and the highest lifespans in the world, the fact that their kids score well on educational tests. It happened because these nations moved to the partnership side. Look at the configuration. They have, instead of this top-down rule, economic, in both the family and the state, they have much more economic and political democracy, not these huge gaps between haves and have-nots. Yes, they have a much more equal partnership between women and men. Women are 40% of the national legislatures. But what happens is that as the status of women rises, and if you take nothing else away about gender, take this, as the status of women rises, men no longer feel so threatened in their status, in their quote masculinity, to also embrace more stereotypically feminine priorities. So men voted for these caring policies. You see how that works? And you see it all around us with all the men now taking care of babies, which they wouldn't have done before if the status of women hadn't risen. And which is a wonderful partnership trend, by the way. But the third part of the configuration, because we're talking about mutually supporting elements of a system, these nations are in the forefront of leaving behind traditions of violence that are built into domination systems. Not coincidentally, the first peace studies came out of the Nordic nations. The first laws prohibiting, saying it's against the law to use physical discipline against children, very important partnership trend, came out of the Nordic nations. The third part of the configuration that you see again in this, the violence part, is they have a very strong men's movement to try to disentangle masculinity from its dominator association, real men, right? Their conquest, violence. They're trying to get away from that. Sure, they have domestic violence. Every nation has that heritage. But they have government-sponsored conferences to change how men take responsibility for it. Let's do that here. I can't share everything with you, and I do want to talk with you. So let me just say this. I've given you, as I told you, a gestalt, an understanding of what are the foundations. Yes, intimate violence, the statistics are horrific. If you only knew them, but you can't know them, go to SAVE, to the website, and you'll get them. We've got to change them, and we've got to get spiritual leaders, religious leaders, to start speaking up. They talk about peace, but let them talk about changing these traditions of violence against women and children. So use this opportunity to help us move to a caring economics. There are on my website, people have spontaneously formed book study and action groups using the real wealth of nations. Start a bunch of them in your communities, and then lobby for these 2 bills that I told you about. Do it. This is our moment, and together, my friends, we can make those changes for ourselves, for our children, and generations to come. I thank you. Stay a few more minutes for